Hello everyone. Today we are going to finish alcohol, and I want to pick up from the last slide that we did on Friday. And it was this diagram where we actually looked at the effects of ethanol in many different cellular and also whole body perspectives here. So we focused on hepatocyte because it is the cell that really deals with most of the ethanol that is ingested. And we learned that, just to recapitulate, we learned that the majority of the ethanol that enters the blood goes into the liver, and the liver has two systems to detoxify ethanol, and it's the ADH and the meals. And we learned that ethanol is converted into acetaldehyde by ADH and also by the meals. And acetaldehyde then has to be metabolized within the mitochondria by ALDH. And once that happens, it becomes acetate, and then acetyl-CoA is produced. Acetyl-CoA can be metabolized in the Krebs cycle, and a large portion of it is destroyed or is oxidized, so it disappears from the system. So, but we also learned that when there is a large amount of ethanol being ingested, there is quite a bit of acetaldehyde and even ethanol that is not quickly or immediately processed. And when it accumulates inside of the cell, ethanol by itself can lead to inflammation, and also acetaldehyde, which is a byproduct of ethanol metabolism, can be as, or if not more, toxic, deleterious than ethanol itself. So, but we learned that acetaldehyde forms adducts. On its own, it also leads to inflammation. It can impair insulin signaling, cause insulin resistance, and these adducts can cause DNA damage, and can also lead to cancer. And we learned also that once with an elevated amount of acetate being available within the mitochondria, the production of citrate also goes beyond the capacity of the Krebs cycle to process it. So some of the citrate actually exits the mitochondria, and there is a cleavage of citrates that releases acetyl-CoA again in the cytoplasm. And we know that acetyl-CoA is a substrate for the production of fatty acids, and this is called the de novo lipid synthesis. And again, acetaldehyde can also stimulate the pathway by which you convert acetyl-CoA into fatty acids, and then this leads to steatosis or fatty liver disease, leads to an increase in VLDL. Lipids then are released in the circulation. It can lead to dyslipidemia, so it has implications for the cardiovascular system too. And we also learned that there is fatty acids we call NIFAs, or non-esterified fatty acids, that can also go to different organs and tissues, and can lead can cause one problem that we name lipotoxicity. And finally, but very important, is the fact that whatever ethanol is not metabolized by the liver, it stays in the circulation and it goes to the brain. Brain is a target for ethanol, and it can really cause damage in the brain, and this can be very serious, can have very serious consequences to neurological function, as we learned also on Friday. So with that, just to summarize, what are the health implications of alcoholism, which is those people who drink excessive amounts of alcohol? So fatty liver disease, or hepatosteatosis, and now we know why this is caused. Ketosis and ketoacidosis, ketosis is a production of ketone bodies, and ketosis is not an issue. The problem is when it becomes too excessive, or in an excessive amount in the circulation, and leads to ketoacidosis. And this is again because you impair metabolism of glucose and shift towards more fat, and fat can also lead to this production of ketones and then ketoacidosis, which is the real problem. It can also lead to hypoglycemia because of two things here. One is because it impairs the ability of the cells to use glucose, and so you have hypoglycemia-like symptoms, not because necessarily you have too low glucose levels, but more so because the cells cannot use glucose. But there is a case where you can have very low glucose levels per se, and this is because people who drink too much, they also don't eat properly. So if they don't ingest food as they normally do because they are drinking too much, and it kind of inhibits their appetite to make them eat less, then they may develop hypoglycemia. So another major complication with alcoholism is hepatic cirrhosis or hepatic scarring, and also leading to fibrosis. In other words, there is damage to the liver, and it causes a scar tissue, then takes place or replaces cells that died, and it becomes fibrotic. And once that occurs, it really destroys the ability of completely inhibits the ability of the liver to actually perform its functions. So once hepatic cirrhosis occurs, most hepatic functions are lost, leading to impaired synthesis and production of, for instance, albumin, which is a major protein in your blood that comes from the liver. So liver cannot produce that anymore, along with proteins of blood coagulation and other crucial serum proteins. So in other words, it has devastating consequences because liver is a major organ in terms of maintaining our health and homeostasis in general. So if you damage seriously, which is the case with hepatic cirrhosis, if you damage the liver, it really can lead to devastating and can be lethal in the end. So what are additional harmful effects? So we know that it can lead to inflammation of the esophagus. It's called esophagitis. In the stomach, which is called gastritis. So alcohol can also cause those problems. It can disrupt the normal communication between neurons, and this can lead to loss of coordination and imbalance, which is typical of people who drink too much. They cannot, they show visibly that they cannot coordinate movements, and they lose balance too. Sleepiness, impaired cognitive function, and in the long run, it can cause severe brain damage because you can have irreversible damage to neurons in the brain that can really severely impair brain function. So now, the other side of this is that, is there any beneficial effect to alcohol consumption? Because there is, we always hear people say that, well, if you drink small amounts of alcohol, it can actually be beneficial. It can be healthy. Well, there is epidemiological data showing that there is an inverse relationship between moderate alcohol intake, and moderate meaning very small amounts, and we'll specify more in the next few slides. And that kind of, it has an inverse relationship between this moderate alcohol intake and the occurrence of coronary artery disease and stroke. And this has been attributed to the fact that alcohol in very small amounts seems to increase HDL and also exerts an antioxidant effect. And there is, especially in wine, you can find polyphenols, and these polyphenols have been considered a beneficial component of alcoholic beverages because they are potent antioxidants. Well, this is, although it's been, I would say, spoken often about this, there is very little good science to support this, but it is, and that's why I have here some question marks, because we don't really have very good hard science that supports this idea. But one of the hypotheses is that it could be potentially due to the presence of polyphenols and leading to this antioxidant effect and also increasing HDL levels. So it has a protective cardiovascular effect. And also there is epidemiological evidence suggesting that there is a reduction in the risk of cognitive impairment and dementia in the elderly. So it has been promoted in terms of potential benefits that alcohol could have. But I have to say that even low to moderate alcohol consumption is not free of risk, because at the same time that you have some reports or some claims that moderate amounts of alcohol can have some beneficial effects, there is also epidemiological data revealing that there is an increasing risk of breast cancer among women consuming low to moderate levels of alcohol, increased risk of developing hypertension in men consuming as little as 2 drinks per day, which is what is considered moderate. And the potential benefits of moderate alcohol ingestion do not seem to apply equally to all people. In other words, it doesn't seem that everyone gets that benefit. So there looks like some people do and some people don't. So in general, even though there is some claim that small amounts of alcohol may be beneficial, it's not something that we can take as valid or true for the entire population. So it looks like there are some people who might benefit from it, but there is also some people that don't seem to benefit as much, and actually they show some increased risk of developing some conditions. So I think it's safer to say that alcohol, even in small amounts, is not healthy, as opposed to saying that it is, that has some beneficial effects. So how much alcohol is considered safe to drink? So the recommendation is that 1 drink per day for women and 2 for men. And a drink is defined as the amount of a beverage that provides approximately half of a fluid ounce, approximately 15 ml of alcohol. So it's a tiny amount. It would be, for instance, 45 ml of vodka, 150 ml of wine, and 355 ml of beer. So you see that it's a small amount. Obviously, the more alcohol you have, the lower is the volume that you will be allowed to drink. And the beverage that have relatively lower amounts of alcohol, you can drink more. So that's the kind of beer, especially light beer. But when you go with distilled or spirits, and then those are have a higher concentration of alcohol. So for that reason, you're allowed only a small amount. And some people, it's really difficult for people to stick to this kind of safe range of how much you can drink, because it's 1 drink for a woman and 2 for men. So it's per day. So it's difficult for people to really stick to that. But that's what is considered safe, and it's low to moderate drinking. Okay, guys, so with this, I think we complete the alcohol session. I'm going to stop here today, and we'll continue, and we are going to, in next few lectures, we are going to actually discuss energy metabolism, diet, and weight control. And we will get more in the details of the mechanisms that actually regulate body weight, that regulate food intake, and how it affects energy metabolism. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you again on Wednesday. Bye for now.